Hello. There we go, turn my microphone on right at the start. The last few times, innit? So, yeah, thank you for coming and checking this out. It's going to be the fourth Microstakes study group session. Usually takes a little while for the first, well, it usually takes a little while for a few people to get in, but we'll kick it off soon here. We'll just wait a couple of minutes just in case anyone does decide to jump in. And we usually get about anywhere between kind of 10 and 20 people coming to these. Usually pretty good. Obviously, you just gotta wait for some people. I'm going to be going through hands from a winning session that I had the other day, and possibly hands from a losing session that I had today. Before the stream, which is pretty fucking shocking when you look at that. But I don't know. There's not many hands where I actually kind of did much. Like I didn't lose a full stack in any hand, in any one hand. Still ended up down 2 buy-ins, which fucking sucks. But yeah, there was a couple of all-ins where we ran it twice and chopped it up, and then a bunch of spots where I just had to essentially fold for $1, $2, stuff like that. And that's what's kind of screwed me today, and then just couldn't get anything going even with the hands that I won. So that was my session today. I also made some, let's say, questionable decisions. This pot in particular, where I chose to do a very weird line. Probably won't put it in review because I don't think it's a hand that's really going to be particularly helpful to anyone, as I was just trying something screwy and yeah, put it this way, it didn't work out. The guy ended up having aces, but I thought I'd try something weird because I kind of figured out that he had an overpair, and the board was hitting my range quite well. So anyway, we'll ignore that hand because it doesn't really teach anyone anything. Right, where is this? Okay, we got a few extra people in. Hi there, Finn, Mumblechum, Orson, Sphinx, another T viewer, which I'm pretty sure is a bot as well. Just in case you missed it, I'm just going to go through some hands primarily from a winning session that I had the other day. But there are 2 hands in particular that I think are quite interesting from a strategy point of view, that I think we could have done a lot better in, despite the fact that I ended up 4 buy-ins in whatever there's 40 minutes or whatever, which is, you know, a really good session. I'm actually not happy with the way I played some of the hands. Hey guys, how's it going? I'm alright. Had a full day in work today. Say in work, it's literally just sat in this chair, but doing work in a day job that I'm not particularly fond of. So it's always nice to kind of have this little Thursday session to look forward to at the end of a long day, where I get to review things that I've done right and things that I've done wrong, and everything in between. Okay, I'm going to kick us off here, and I'm struggling to kind of decide on the first hand to go with. I think I'll go with a hand just to kind of warm us up, and then we'll get into the 2 main hands, which is this one, which was basically my only big losing hand of the day. This was Wednesday, so it's yesterday. And then this hand, which was by far my biggest winning hand of the day. You can see already there my net EV was actually down, and we'll kind of go into why that is as and when that happens, as and when we look at it. So I'm going to start out with, let's go, let's see good hand. I tend to prefer hands that go to the river. This is quite an interesting hand. It's a small pot, but this is quite an interesting hand. Unfortunately, the guy, the opponent's whole cards are going to be like visible for the whole time. So just accept the fact that we know what the opponent is, but we're gonna try and figure out, you know, what other hands they could potentially have and stuff like that. Also, one thing that was really weird about this session is, for the first time in a long time, I had a go at playing the session viewing big blinds instead of viewing the monetary amount. I was playing 10 and L, so it doesn't really matter because it's kind of 1-for-1, but yeah, it was a bit weird, like looking at it in purely just the fact that it says big blinds instead of dollars and cents and stuff. Like, I don't know about you guys, I found it weird. Bold duty has aces. Thanks for the contribution, Mumblechubb. Excellent. Excellent contribution there. So, pocket sixes, we're five-handed on this table. For me, this is a automatic open 2.5x. Sometimes I'll just do 2x. Sometimes I might throw in 3x. I don't know. 2.5x is kind of my average opening size for sixes and for most hands, as we'll come to see. So player 4 here with the aces, they decide to come over the top. Obviously this is played on party poker as well, so as far as we're concerned, we know nothing about any player. Okay, so we've got no stats on anybody at all. This is purely, we've just got to kind of go with what our hand is, what we think their hand is going to be most of the time, in a kind of a GTO sense, but not really, because we're playing against people at 10 and L. So people at 10 and L, generally speaking, aren't playing GTO. I don't, and I win most of the time, I like to think. So yeah, so with this raise size, he knocks out everyone else. Normally with low pocket pairs, I'm a little bit dubious about calling with yeah, I'm a little bit dubious about calling low pocket pairs to 3 bets when I'm out of position. But because he's raised so small, I'm seriously priced in. I mean, you can see here sixes against aces. Aces is worst case scenario for us, really. And we've got 20%. And all right, our odds here 36%, but you've got to take into account implied odds in that a lot of the time, if we flop a set or whatever like that, we are going to get paid off massively by aces, possibly even stack them. So yeah, we're massively incentivized to call here, try and hit a set. So it's quite a comfortable call to make. And we don't hit our set. Sucks for us. It's a really dry board though, so he's going to have a lot of ace king, ace jack, jack 10, king 10, king jack, king 9 suited. I've seen people raise even 8, 9, whatever like that. So he's got a load of stuff that misses this board, and then obviously he's got aces, kings, queens, jacks, 10s, 9s, ace queen, king queen, probably queen jack suited, queen 10 suited maybe some of the time as well. Even a hand like 7-8 or 7-6, maybe even ace 7 suited, I've seen people raise on occasion. So he's got a bunch of stuff that hits this board and then a lot of stuff that misses this board. Obviously we're just going to check over, we've got no reason to donk. And he checks the aces back. Now, in my mind, when he checks back this flop, I'm thinking almost never in a million years has he got aces. I don't see a reason to not bet at this flop with aces. It's actually the perfect flop for aces. It's super disconnected. You haven't got to worry so much about anyone having a draw. You haven't got to worry about anyone having a 2 pair or anything like that. Essentially, for me here, if I've got aces, I'm going to bet about 1/3 pot to get value from people who've got queen x, 7x, pocket pairs, even some ace highs that are going to be around on occasion. Some 4-5 maybe, 5-6. there's a bunch of shit that you can get value from with aces here, like a load of shit, and there isn't really hardly any turn cards that you're worried about. Maybe if the turn is like a king, and then you know someone could have king queen, for example, but even then you're not really too worried about a king coming on the turn or any other card for that matter, except maybe a queen would kind of suck a little bit, because you know, but even then you're not too worried about a queen as such. So I don't understand why he checks back, but he does anyway. Turn comes a 7. So 7's a really good card for us. It means a lot less likely that he's got pocket 7s, a lot less likely that he's got ace 7, 7 8, 7 6. I think 7 6 suited might be, no, there's only one combo of 7 6 suited, which would be 7 6 of spades. So the board pairing on turn is actually really good for our weak pocket pair. It doesn't really improve our opponent's range at all. It slightly kind of improves ours a touch, but not brilliantly. It's just a more comfortable card than if the turn was, say, a 10 or a jack or an ace or king or anything like that. You know, we're quite happy with this turn. So I decided to throw out a small bet, like really super fucking small. Actually, it's a lot smaller than I thought I'd bet, but either way, like the basic reason why I've thrown out this bet size, which is about a quarter of the pot, is I am banking on this guy having. I'm not banking on him having aces really ever after he checks back the flop, but I am banking on him having ace king, ace jack, maybe once in a while a pocket 5s, pocket 4s that he was getting a little weird with pre-flop, ace 10. Maybe some diamonds, like jack 10 of diamonds, king jack of diamonds, stuff like that. Basically just a load of kind of random stuff that he's going to be quite happy to call 25% of the pot with, that we don't want to give a free card to, essentially. Like, our hand is still really vulnerable at this stage. Like, any overcard to the sixes, except maybe another 7. Is going to be a problem for us. Or yeah, obviously if the queen pairs, then we have 6 high essentially, which is no good to us, and pretty much any other card that comes between an 8 and an ace is we're not going to be happy to see on the river. So I mean, do tell me guys if you think you agree with this kind of logic that I've gone with here about going with a small bet size to kind of get value and a little bit of protection from his random trash. Yeah, basically that's what we're trying to achieve. Just get value from his random trash and a little bit of protection as well. So please don't be shy. Like, type up in the chat if you agree. If you don't agree, that's the whole point of this kind of study session. If you've not been before, we just have an open discussion about what everyone thinks. And okay, yeah, perfect example there. So in case anyone can't read the chat box on the side, Mumblechum saying sounds good, maybe 1/3 pot better. So I can see merit to 1/3 pot. I think anywhere between a quarter pot and 1/3 is probably about right. Depends on how wide of a range you want to get value from, or want to get protection against, or whatever like that. So obviously if we bet 1/3 pot, we're going to get a lot more folds from random. Let's say he's got ace 5. I disagree with you, Orson. I disagree almost entirely with the notion of betting big to see where you're at, which is a phrase that people kind of band about. I personally disagree with that line of logic. If you bet 2/3 a pot, he's going to fold all of his ace X, well, pretty much all of his aces. He might call like ace X of diamonds if he's got flush draw. He's going to fold his random, 3x. He could have ace 3 here that we could get value from. And as Mumble Chum says, you're going to find out with both sizes realistically, for one degree or another. So if you're betting bigger, put it this way, you're giving your opponent the opportunity to play perfectly. If you bet big on this turn, say I bet 10 big blinds or whatever like that, he's going to call with all his queen X, he's going to call with his overpairs. I'm talking not just overpairs to the board, but overpairs to our sixes. So he's going to call with his pocket eights, nines, tens, jacks. He's going to call with his 7x, and most other stuff is just going to fold. In which case, we're just investing far more money than we need to. Now, by betting smaller, we keep his range wide, which is what we want to do when we've got a pretty weak hand. We're not looking to bet big like we would be. Let's say we've got ace queen, or actually better, yeah, let's say we've got aces ourselves here. We're a little bit more incentivized to bet slightly bigger, because we're looking to get value from the strongest parts of their range. So if we've got aces, we want to get value from ace queen, king queen, queen jack, jacks, tens, nines. We're looking to get value from those hands that can call a big bet. And at the moment, and the other reason to bet big, generally speaking, is if you are trying to get your opponent to fold. So if you want them to fold, ace highs or whatever like that. But the thing is, our hand doesn't really necessarily, it isn't desperate for our opponent to fold here, in my opinion at least. I'm not absolutely desperate for my opponent to fold by betting my pocket sixes like I would be if I had, say, 6-5 of spades. If I'm betting 6-5 of spades here, then absolutely I'm going to bet bigger, because I just want him to fold out all his trash. I want him to fold out his random king jack that he might punt with, or his ace 5 or whatever like that. Our hand is vulnerable, but it does have showdown value. Generally speaking, we've got kind of a mid-tiered hand here. We can get value from stuff. And if you're trying to just make your opponent fold straight away here, all you're going to achieve is you'll sometimes win a 13 big blind pot, or sometimes you will lose another 10 big blinds that you don't need to lose. We're not expecting a 6 to arrive on the river here. This is the thing. We're not expecting a 6 to arrive. What we are expecting is that the river will occasionally come something like a deuce of spades, a 4 of clubs, a 10 of spades, jack of clubs, things like that. This bet size is going to get jack 10 of spades to fold. This bet size is going to get, I don't know, 8-9 of clubs to fold. It's going to get most of his weaker ace X to fold. It's going to get his ace 4s, ace 5s to fold. And that's fine. That in itself allows us to potentially win the pot, but without having to invest too much. Now, let's say he calls and the river does come, I don't know, 9 of clubs, for argument's sake. What we can then deduce, because we did put at least some sort of bet in on the turn, well, if the turn comes a 9 of clubs, well, we're not really worried about 10-9. We're not really worried about jack 9. We're not worried about 9-8, because all those hands are going to fold to a small bet. So then what we have the opportunity to do, check the river over, and then he's going to bluff his random ace jack, his ace king, hands that are well, maybe not, maybe he doesn't always bluff them, but a lot of the time he's just going to bluff those hands that don't improve on the river. Missed diamond draws, things like that. Makes it a lot easier to play. You bet big on the turn here, right? You bet big on the turn here, and the river comes, I don't know, 9 of clubs. Let's just say, let's take the same example. Then you've still got the same hands that would have folded anyway, but the problem you've got is the hands that he's called with on the turn are a lot stronger. Because on the turn, he's calling with Queen X. He's calling with, you know, jacks, 10s, 9s, and stuff like that. All of the stuff that is still calling this bet anyway. You're just investing less money to do so. I understand your logic in the sense you want him to fold because our hand is vulnerable, but our hand isn't as vulnerable as it could be. So say for example this 7 of diamonds on the turn isn't a 7 of diamonds, say it's the 8 of diamonds. Say it's the 8 of diamonds, then if I'm going to throw out a bet, I'm more inclined to bet bigger because there are a lot more river cards that are going to be scary for me and a lot more draws that he can call with, because he can then call with 9-8 against the big bet because he can then call with 10-9 against the big bet because he's got an open ender, and things like that, you know. So because of the 7 on the turn, I'm quite happy to throw out this bet. The plus EV to fold to a 25% pot bet. What, with Jack 10? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, this bloody thing. Tell you what, give me a sec. Fire up Equilab. And okay, so what's the board? Queen of Hearts, 7 of clubs, 3 of diamonds, hearts, 7 of clubs, 3 of diamonds. Then the turn is the 7 of diamonds. Okay. So let's go with our exact hand, which we've got in hijack, and is 6 of diamonds, 6 of hearts. And then let's give the cut off. Let's just give him Jack 10 suited. He's not, let's be honest, he's not raising with Jack 10 off pre-flop. We can reasonably assume. So let's just say he's got Jack 10 suited. Bear in mind, obviously, this is going to include Jack 10 of diamonds. This calculation here. So it's actually slightly losing for Jack 10 to call here. Bear in mind, this includes the Jack 10 of diamonds. Obviously, Jack 10 of diamonds all day is going to be calling. Like, there's no question about that. So if he's got Jack 10 of diamonds here, got 36%. So we can still get, like, reasonable value. What's brilliant, actually, is the fact that, you know, if say we bet 75% of the pot here, he's still calling Jack 10 of diamonds most of the time, probably. But that's not what we are looking to get to fold necessarily. What I'm looking to get to fold when I'm betting 25% of the pot are all of these. So all of his Jack 10 suiteds that don't have diamonds, in which case they've only got 20%, which is a decent amount below EV for him to call. And if he does call it, then he's making a mistake and we're making money. We're making 5%. Or 4.5% on average when he makes that call incorrectly. And you can do the same thing for, I don't know, let's go with, it's probably going to be exactly the same for 9-8 suited. as well. Yes, yeah, identical. So basically all of these suited connectors that don't have a straight draw and don't have a flush draw are now incentivized to fold against just something as small as a 25% flop bet. Oh, sorry, turn bet. We're only betting 25%, but we get all of these hands to fold by betting that small. And all the flush draws and that they're calling anyway. Ace 5 suited. Obviously ace 5 of what you call it? Ace 5 of diamonds is always going to call every day of the week. I mean ace 5 suited, I don't know if you can see that. But that's 13.5% ace 5 suited, not of diamonds, has to call there. Which is even worse, obviously, because they've literally just got to hit one over card. That's all they can do is hit one over. But when you get called by ace 5, say here, which some people will do. I have seen people call with a hand like ace 5 on this board. Ace 5 of clubs, ace 5 of hearts, whatever. I've seen people do that, and you're actually making you're making like, I don't know what, 12% equity, something like that, 7.5%, more than you should be making. You should only be making 13% off them, let's say, for argument's sake, because that's all they should be calling. They should only be calling for a bet size of 13% of the pot, or whatever that works out to. But they're not. They're calling a lot weaker than that. You may be right there, Orson. I think you might be right. Yeah, I think you're right. In which case, actually, it kind of works out better. Yeah, I think you're right, actually, now that you say it. Yeah, so if you bet 25%, that increases the pot. And then their call is included in that pot bet as well. But you got to remember, I'm actually betting slightly less than that, I think. That's a 17% there. Okay, well let's use that. 17% pot odds is what he's got to call. He can't call, or he shouldn't be calling ace 5. I can get the fucking Equilab thing to work. Right, again, guys, like this is kind of learning curve for me as well, is what I will say. Like, don't come into this session thinking that I've got answers. Is the best way to describe it. Like, I'm simply just a vehicle for us all to be able to ask these questions and then look at the equities and try and find out the answers, so that we can all kind of learn this shit together. But yeah, so if he calls ace 5 suited, he's still making a mistake. Because pot odds 17%. I should have looked at that before, and that would have saved us a lot of time, actually, wouldn't it? So pot odds are 17%. If he calls ace 5, ace 5 that isn't the ace 5 of diamonds, he's making a massive mistake, and we're printing. Any river that isn't an ace, he's just fucking himself, basically. So it's an interesting kind of thing. And even if we go back to what we had earlier, let's take 9-8 9-8 suited that we are trying to get to fold. when we get these hands to fold, the 9-8 suited, which, let's be honest, who in their right mind is calling 9-8 of clubs on this board? Would you call 9-8 of clubs on this board? Probably not, right? So when they've got 9-8 of clubs and they've got 20%, and the pot odds are only 17%, we're actually printing. Because therefore they've actually got more equity to hit their hand. Like, we're betting less than what they need ball with. So when they're folding their 9-8 suitors and all that, we're actually just, we're laughing. Because we're getting a super cheap price on our bluff, basically. Well, not on our bluff, but on our protection bet, let's call it. We're getting a super cheap price to take down the pot cheap and not give them their 20%. So yeah, I mean we could stare at this all day, but yeah, so that's the kind of thinking there. As Mumblechum said, like, you can go 1/3 pot as well. Like, I think 1/3 pot would be fine as well. When you bet 1/3 pot here, I think then you actually get this percentage up to more around 20% and stuff like that. In which case, then it becomes a lot closer for them as to whether or not they should call. But I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to note as well. Like, imagine you've got ace king here. Let's just take imagine you're this guy facing this bet and you've got ace king. Oh, so I've just cleared the fucking thing, haven't I? Alright, forget that. Point is, the point is ultimately that we're getting him to fold 9-8 suited, not 9-8 of diamonds specifically, and Jack 10 and 10-9 and all that, all of which have 20% equity, and we're getting them to fold when it's only 17% for them to call. So we're making money basically by betting smaller and getting hands to fold that shouldn't, in theory, be folding. Obviously, you should never really be calling almost any bet here when you have 9-8 of clubs or Jack 9 of hearts or whatever like that. Because what do you beat? You don't really beat a lot. Now, raising, on the other hand, that's a whole another fucking story. That's the kind of stupid shit that I would do. But yeah, so this is, like, we've covered this spot, I think, to death now. Bet small, get protection, and get a bit of value from some shit like ace, jack, or whatever. Anyway, he's got aces, and he decides to just flat call. Why he decides to flat call, I don't know. Maybe he thinks I've got a 7, maybe he's scared. Who fucking knows? It's very clear that this guy is extremely passive. The fact that he raised aces so small pre, he's checked back a really dry flop that you should never be scared of, and then he's just calling on this turn. Boom! We hit the 6. We hit the money card on the river. Now it becomes a question of not whether or not we bet. Obviously we bet, but how big? And I can't remember how big I went with this actually. But give me some sizes in the chat. Thank you for the follow, Jungle Best. You're officially follower number 100. So congratulations to you. You win my eternal praise. The only kind of prize that I can afford right now is eternal praise. So you win my eternal praise, Jungle Best, for being the 100th follower. So yeah, any ideas on size here, guys? Are we looking at like half pot, 60%, overbet, pot size? I've got an idea. I've got two ideas in my head, and they're quite contrasting ideas. I don't remember what I went with in this actual spot. I don't remember what I did. So let's see what I did. Okay, I went about, what's that? 80%. Yeah, about 80% of the pot is what I've gone. There we go, Mumblechum. Mumblechum and I have got the we've got a synergy going here. We both thought 80% and we both went with 80%. So yeah, so here's my thinking, right? Now looking at this hand in hindsight, it's very easy to go, oh, he's got aces, so surely we should be betting pot or overbet the pot or whatever like that. I don't think he's folding, like say we bet 25 bigs here as a small overbet, he's not folding aces, is he? But what you've got to do is you've got to look at the hand as it has played out. He's raised super small on the flop, on pre-flop. He's checked back the flop, and then he's just called the turn. Like you wouldn't expect aces to do those three things in that order. So when I'm making this bet on the river, I'm never in a million years thinking that he's got aces or kings or queens for that matter. I'm thinking he's got jacks, tens, nines, eights. Maybe a weak queen, like a queen jack or a queen 10, and that's basically what I'm looking to get value from. Now, if I overbet the pot, eights through jacks are probably going to fold because there's not enough incentive for them to bluff catch, really. In my opinion, at least. Like if I've got, say, pocket tens on this board and someone overbets the river, I don't really see this as oh, they're like polarizing between bluffing and super strong value. I just see that as it's just a value bet, so I'm just going to fold. Value bet with a queen, and I'm going to fold, or a boat, or trips, or whatever. However, you've then got the possibility of betting too small and, you know, potentially missing out on some value from those hands, because pocket tens, pocket jacks, pocket nines, whatever, you know, queen jack, queen 10, they're all going to call a half pot bet in the same way that they're going to call an 80% pot bet, or they're going to call a 30% pot. They're never raising on the river. They're just going to flat call whatever the fuck they get put in, whatever gets put in front of them, essentially. So it's a fine line, because say for argument's sake we bet a third of the pot here, say we bet like 7 big blinds, we might get called by like ace king that just decides to stick around or something like that. But I think a lot of the time, even if we bet a third of the pot, most of the time even, ace king, ace jack, which are the two strongest hands that don't have a pair in them that we can get called by, I think because of the double barrel from turn to river, I still think those hands are going to fold too often. And because I think those hands are going to fold too often, I'm then thinking, right, well, if I want to get value from jacks, tens, nines, eights, a weak queen, sometimes maybe a 3 on the off chance, then I think I need to go slightly under pot, basically. And so that's my reasoning for going for 80% here. Obviously, if you overbet, I think you're probably still getting called by like a queen jack or queen 10, but you'd expect those to bet the flop, really. I'm never folding to a jam. I don't think I'm ever folding to a jam, because a jam, a lot of the time, like he could theoretically, quite rare, but he could theoretically have 4-5 suited here. You got 4-5 of diamonds, which would maybe raise. Like I sometimes raise like 4-5 suited, 3. He would check back the flop. He would call the turn, and he would jam the river. if he has, as he does here, aces that he's just played super passive and has now thought, ah shit, actually maybe I should have tried getting value from a queen, he might just bomb it on the river and think, oh shit, I should have got value earlier, I should have raised earlier, let me raise my aces all in now and try and get value from a queen. See people do that. Or he might have jack shit even. It's 10 NL. It's 10 NL on party poker, so we've got no stats on anyone or anything, because obviously you don't have a HUD on party. So yeah, I mean, I like the bet size on the river. I think I'm putting jacks and tens and nines and eights in a tricky spot, but a spot where they're gonna call it off most of the time. Those are the hands that I'm kind of targeting here more than anything else, is those middling pairs that would maybe take a line similar to what he's taken here. And then obviously every now and again I'll run into aces or queens, or sorry, aces, or like an ace queen that was trying to slow play or something like that, that is also just going to call anyway. So obviously no point beating around the bush. He does call and we take down. Nice little pot. Oh, I mean, that was meant to be the warm-up hand and we've gone for like 45 minutes or so. So fuck knows how we're going to do with the rest. I think I'm going to go, yeah, I'm going to go to this hand next. This hand was a bitch. And I will admit right now that I was button clicking a little bit, and I think I've made a glaring mistake on this in this hand. I'll tell you when I think I've made the mistake. I think I did some things right and some things wrong. So we've got king queen off, and opponent in the button decides to raise it up. Deep analysis. Yeah, you're right. Opponent on button decides to raise up 2.5x. This is just a standard button open. Most of the time they're going to have just some trash. I can't, unfortunately. Well, I say I can't. I don't know how to on here, on hand to note. If anyone else uses hand to note and you know how to hide villains hold cards, then like, do let me know. But yeah, there's not really like an option here for hiding the hold cards, unfortunately. I have seen, we have done sessions before where people have sent hands into me, and they've sent it by exporting from Poker Tracker, and that does hide the villain's hands. So go back and watch those other sessions that we've done. They're on YouTube, or you can watch them on Twitch in the VODs bit, but it's probably easier watching it on YouTube in all honesty, because I've edited it slightly, and I keep forgetting to turn my microphone on at the start of streams, so I've edited in some funny little comments to myself while I'm waiting for the fucking penny to drop, basically. Anyway, so this is what we got to deal with for now. But if you want to see some hands where we don't know the villain's whole cards, go back and watch I think it was the last one that we did, the last study group session. So anyway, in the small blind, I come in for the 3-bet with king queen off. I would say this is probably a pretty standard 3-bet for me. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure whether or not it would be considered standard overall. I mean, I do have some ranges and stuff in here. Let's go small blind, and let's use upswing. Small blind 3-bet versus cutoff. Okay. The small blind 3-bet versus cutoff. Sorry, small blind 3-bet versus button open, rather. According to the upswing charts, has us, it's probably easier if you can see it like that, has us 3-betting 8-7, 6-7, 6-5 suited, 9s through aces, ace king through ace jack, suited or not suited, then ace 10 suited, ace 5 suited, king queen suited, king jack suited. They don't have king queen off there. However, I've named this little thing upswing / me. So what I did, this was ages ago now, I looked at some upswing charts and then changed them slightly for when I was playing 5NL. However, what I've discovered is that people open a lot more and a lot wider at 10NL. It's a slightly looser game, I've noticed. So I've started adding in things like king queen offsuit. I've started adding in more small pocket pairs. The medium ones I'll tend to just call, and then I'll mix in some like pocket fours and stuff like that. I'll 3-bet with on occasion every now and then. Or I might mix in like a queen 10 suited. Basically mixing and matching a little bit. Let's see if we've got another. Okay, here we go. Three-bet versus pre-flop raise. Fence call. Open raising. 3-betting. There you go. 3-bet inverse button open range. So this is the pokerstrategy.com range, and as you can see here, 3-betting versus open raise against the button. Obviously, open raise on the button means you're going to be 3-betting from either one of the blinds. And they've got king queen off in here, king jack off, king 10 off, pretty much all of the offsuit aces, all of these, every pocket pair. You've got the queen 10 suited. So this is, I would say, more probably a lot closer to what I would be 3-betting most of the time. I still won't 3-bet all of these offsuit aces. Sometimes I'll throw in an ace 9 off, but that's usually from the big blind, not from the small blind. King 10 off, I'd say I probably don't. King jack off, I mix in on occasion. King 9 suited, I wouldn't raise. Probably wouldn't do ace deuce 3. I'd say I'm probably more like something about like that is probably what I 3-bet from the small blind, playing 10NL fast forward or 10NL zoom. So I think it's nice, you get a little bit of a mix in there. You've got some wheel aces, you've got some low pocket pairs, so that you're not, so that you're not only ever 3-betting with this top half of the board here. I do occasionally throw in a 3-bet with these as well. Sometimes jack 10 suited as well. I try to get a lot of board coverage when I'm kind of 3-bet bluffing almost from small blind. I want to either hit the flop super hard or I want to completely miss. If that makes any sense. I don't want to raise up like queen 9 off and then the flop is like 10-8 5 or something like that, and then I've got a gut shot, I've got 1 over. No, fuck that. Me personally, just the way I play, I want to either smash the flop, I flop a set, I flop 2 pair, or an open ender with a flush draw, whatever like that, or I'm hitting Broadway cards. That's my kind of 3-bet strategy from the blinds. Because you're going to be playing out of position, it's extremely important to have the betting lead a lot of the time as well. It just makes your life a lot easier, because let's say I 3-bet with my pocket fours, flop comes, I don't know, ace king 7, I can quite comfortably throw in a c-bet, and my my perceived range is mainly going to be up in this area. So I'm going to get a lot of folds from hands like jacks and 10s and 9s that are going to open raise and then call a 3-bet on the button. I'll get a lot of folds from queen jack suited, even pocket queens a lot of the time will fold if your flop comes like ace king 7 and you've called the queens, and then the pre-flop 3-better c-bets into an ace king high board. Like, you're not feeling too great about your queens, are you? So most of the time probably fold them. That's my approach there, just to kind of give a bit of explanation around. I've closed it now, haven't I? That's the explanation around my 3-bet here, basically. So ace king on the big blind. If I'm ace king on the big blind here, I am putting in a 4-bet personally. Probably 23, 24 bigs, something like that is what I would go. I've got position on the 3-better. This guy's got super wide range anyway, so he's just going to fold most of the time. And a lot of the time with ace king, you'll get people to fold out their king queens. You're going to get people to fold out their pocket 10s, pocket 9s a lot of the time with a 4-bet. And it's just nice locking at the pot pre-flop basically. And also the other massive benefit is if you lock at the pot pre-flop, you don't get charged any rake, obviously, because you only get charged rake post-flop. So if you can pick up, what is this, 12.5 big blinds without even having to see a flop, that's a win as far as I'm concerned. So I would personally 4-bet here. I would also 4-bet ace queen offsuit on occasion as a bluff. But otherwise I'm 4-betting my ace king off and suited, and I'm 4-betting obviously aces and kings. And I just, like I said, I mix in ace queen off as kind of a blocker 4-bet because I'm blocking aces, blocking queens. And then a lot of the time, if someone does call 4-bet with that, they've probably got kings or jacks, because I've honed in on their range quite well, or maybe ace king, in which case it makes it quite easy to play against them post flop. You know what flops you want to bet at, check at, whatever. But anyway, this chap decides to just call instead of coming for 4-bet, and I think calling is okay as well. I just prefer 4-betting, but I don't think it's terribly wrong. You can do that, Orson. What I've taken to doing recently, though, just almost as an experiment, and it works pretty well, is 4-betting smaller. And the reason for 4-betting smaller is usually the action of 4-betting in and of itself generates a fuck ton of fold equity. Because people, especially at 2NL, 5NL, 10NL, assume that if you're 4-betting, you've got aces or kings. Or ace king. And while that is pretty much true most of the time, when you take someone's preconceived notion that you are only 4-betting with those 3 hands, aces, kings, and ace king, all of a sudden it becomes very easy for them to fold hands like ace queen, pocket queens, and pocket jacks. It becomes easy for them to fold if you're raising this up to say 30 big blinds, so 3x. Or say I'd raise to 12, then 36 big blinds would be 3x. That's quite a big raise. And if I was the person sat here and I had pocket queens or pocket jacks, I'd probably fold most of the time against the raise that large. But as Mumbletrum said there, about 2.2x, 2.3, 2.4, something like that. That's where you can get those hands, especially if you've got aces and kings as well. You want queens and jacks to call, because those are the hands you're going to get value from. So you raise it up a little bit smaller. The act of the 4-bet in and of itself will get hands like king, queen to fold. Like, they're folding regardless of what size you choose. But by lowering your 4-bet size slightly, you make sure that you keep those jacks and queens in. And obviously it makes it very easy to play post flop as well. Because then if you've got aces and you 4-bet small and the flop comes queen, jack, 6, then you're going to go, okay, I'm basically beating pocket kings, and that's it. However, if the flop comes, I don't know, 9-6 deuce, then all of a sudden you're going to get massive value from those queens and those jacks. And it's crazy. I feel you on that, Mumble. If you look at the banner over here, you'll see that I stream for Run It Once a lot. And they had a promotion on the other week, which was to basically, if you win a hand with 7 deuce, whether 7 deuce off or 7 deuce suited, win a hand, then they will pay you 10 big blinds into your account. Now, I streamed on that day, I think, if I remember rightly. And put it this way, I was playing 20 NL on Run It Once, and I made like 18 euros, so almost a buy-in just from playing 7 deuce and getting people to fold. I was 4-betting, I was 5-bet, I was a fucking wild man with 7 deuce on that day. So I was like, give me my 10 big blinds. I just won my 10 big blinds. It was so much fun. I wish they do it more often. Of course, the problem then came that I actually lost like 4 or 5 buy-ins on that day anyway, so I was still massively down. But actually, the 7 deuce game kind of helped me a lot. I was up money from playing the 7 deuce game, and then I was up more money from the 7 deuce game by the payouts that they were giving me. So all in all, playing 7 deuce probably saved me something like 30 euros or something like that I otherwise had just gone down the pan. Anyway, we're getting off topic a little bit here, but it's always fun doing stupid shit. So this geezer folds, flop. So us knowing what this guy has, this is like a fucking nightmare flop for us, right? Of course, we don't know that. We don't know that he's got ace king with the ace of diamonds. We're expecting most of the time he's going to raise up ace king with the ace of diamonds. What's good for us in terms of on the odd occasion where he does have that is that he only has 2 combinations of ace king with the ace of diamonds. So obviously we block the ace king. So you can either have ace king with the king of spades or king of hearts. Makes it a lot easier to kind of figure out what you're doing basically. However, obviously, you know, that's not going to encompass his whole range. He's going to have he can certainly have ace king of hearts. He can have ace queen with the ace of diamonds. He can have ace queen of hearts, spades, clubs. He can have ace jack suited a lot of the time. He can also have king queen suited himself. He could have king queen of spades or something like that. He could have some pocket queens, pocket jacks. There's a bunch of shit that you can have on this board basically. But realistically, at the moment, the only 2 things we're worried about is A, has he flopped a flush? Well, that's going to be pretty fucking difficult for him, because unless he's called a 3-bet with ace jack of diamonds, ace 10 of diamonds, or, you know, cascading down. But mostly you're only going to get called by ace jack of diamonds, ace 10 of diamonds. He can't really have anything else. Maybe jack 10 of diamonds. Or if he's decided to go a little bit screwy with like a 6-5 of diamonds or something like that. But generally speaking, we're not really worried about him having flopped a flush here. And then we're also not really worried about the king, because as I said earlier, we expect him to 4-bet ace king quite a lot. So this board actually is really fucking good for us. You know, we've got the blocker to the flush. He can hit the second nut flush. We've got top pair, second kicker, where we don't expect our opponent to have top pair, top kicker all that often. So it's a pretty good board. However, with any kind of monotone flop, general best practices, sorry as I adjust my my shorts, which are getting a bit uncomfortable. With any monotone flop, the general rule of thumb, and this is based on a few people who I've you know, looked at training videos from and stuff from anyone, Raise Your Edge, Upswing, whatever. I can't remember who it was exactly, but there's a few of them that I've seen, articles and stuff. Generally speaking, you want to keep the pot small in almost all scenarios, because a lot of the time you're going to completely miss this flop. A lot of the time I'm going to 3-bet ace jack of spades here, and I've completely missed this board, so I want to check it. And this is one of those spots where, yes, we're playing at the Microstakes, yes, we're playing against people who aren't playing GTO, but this is one of those GTO spots, I think, that's actually very crucial at the Microstakes, where you don't want to be betting with your flushes and checking with nothing else, because it's too obvious. I think on this flop, when you 3-bet and this flop comes, I think you check your entire range. Doesn't matter if you flop the nut flush, if you flop a set of 4s, a set of 7s, set of kings. I can't see many merits for betting out at this board. Maybe the sets, actually. Maybe the pocket kings, pocket 7s, pocket 4s. Maybe those are the only things that I would potentially bet out at on this board. I'll make a c-bet with. Everything else I think I want to check, and I want to let my opponent either do something stupid, or potentially I make the second nut flush, they make they make a flush with like a jack of diamonds or something like that, if they've got ace jack with a jack of diamonds, or if they've got, you know, I don't know, pocket jacks with a jack of diamonds, some random shit like that. You know what I'm kind of trying to get at. We're not getting called by a great deal here, except for hands that have got the ace of diamonds in, so we want to try and keep their range a little bit wider. I go for the check, and he comes in for a fairly sizable bet. Now, when I see this bet size, the first thing I'm thinking is probably not going to flush. And the reason why I'm thinking that is because when people flop a flush, and this is, I'm making a generalization here, it's just from my own observations kind of thing. Generally speaking, when people flop a flush on this kind of board, they don't come out betting big when someone checks into them, because they're just going to get too many folds, right? If they're going to put in a bet and they flop the flush, they're going to put in something like a 1/3 pot bet or smaller, maybe 50% at kind of top. But no one's trying to make you fold when they've already flopped the nut flush or something like that, right? Right, as far as I'm concerned here, when I've got my king queen of diamonds, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm like, okay, you're betting big into me. You've probably got some sort of flush draw. You're trying to get me off whatever I've got ahead of time. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy to call here. I've got top pair. I've got flush draw. I'm pretty comfortable. This is where it all goes wrong. You can probably see where this is going. So we've hit our flush. Happy fucking days. Aren't we clever? So we've hit our flush. It's a low flush card as well, which is useful actually. It's better that it's the deuce of diamonds rather than the jack or 10 of diamonds, because it means our opponent can still have the jack or 10 of diamonds, which we want them to have in this scenario. So at this stage, I'm essentially in bluff catching territory. And I think I make some mistakes from this point onwards. I'll be completely honest, I think I balls this up quite a bit. Obviously, I check it over again. I'm not going to donk bet this, because when you donk bet this, they're only ever calling with like the ace of diamonds or maybe the jack of diamonds, maybe 10 of diamonds. But most of the time, they're going to have fuck all. So he comes out, he goes slightly under, we'll just call it half pot. Now remember what I said on the flop. And what I said on the flop was, if they've made the nut flush on a monotone board, they're going to bet smaller to try and keep you in the pot. That's exactly what our opponent here has done. He's now hit his nut flush. He knows that my calling range is going to be super, super specific. It's going to be Queen of Diamonds, Jack of Diamonds, ten of Diamonds. That's pretty much it. But he also knows that if he bets pot here, I'm going to call... I'm probably going to call the Queen of Diamonds, probably fold the Jack of Diamonds and the 10 of Diamonds, right? So I think he's played this clever. If it was me, I'd probably bet a little bit smaller actually, just to get some 9 of Diamonds, 8 of Diamonds to call as well. But I think betting half pot or less in his shoes is the smart play, and it is the smart play because he gets the call from me. And I flat. And the river changes nothing. Obviously, I am praying to whatever being wishes to listen that the Ace of Diamonds hits the river, but obviously it doesn't. And we're already stuck 50 big blinds. Look, we're already stuffed for about 50 bigs. That he's already taken us. That's in the bank. He's got it. It's locked up. Good night. Back up the truck, as Doug Polka's been saying recently. So what? Like, I can't do anything here except just fucking check again, can I? And here he goes again. Half pot bet. It's the smart size. It's a smart size. Bets $5, and right now I'm sitting there and I'm like this. And all I can see in my mind's eye is the Ace of Diamonds in his hand. In some iteration. That's all I can see in my mind's eye, is that he's got the Ace of Diamonds. Now, we've got a problem here, haven't we, guys? We can see his hole cards. How come we can see his hole cards? Because we went to a fucking showdown, didn't we? Because I'm a donk. And I'm a fucking station and I called it off. And this here is my biggest mistake. By a mile. Who are you? Who is gonna bet half pot on this board on the river in position with the Jack of Diamonds against an opponent who's 3-bet pre and then check called 2 streets on this mess? No fucker in the world, right? But I'm a sucker and I fell for it, and I called it off like an absolute fish. And I could have saved myself $5 there. Could have saved myself 50 big blinds by just hitting that foot, by just looking at it for what it is. And what it is a person value betting ace high, or an ace high flush rather. But I'm a huge fish and I called it off, and agreed, Jungle. Absolutely agreed. The turn bet I can live with, or rather my turn call I can live with. I can live with my call on the turn, because I have seen people do it with pocket jacks with a diamond, pocket tens with a diamond. Sometimes they might have pocket kings, pocket sevens, something like that, and they'll be almost betting to protect against a river bet, or they'll be betting because they're hoping that they're going to hit a boat and then they can stack me or whatever like that. And yeah, no one's ever bluffing here. No one is ever bluffing this river. When they bet this river and they've got it's a monotone board like this, they've got the Ace of Diamonds, just flat out. I was talking on the Black Rain Facebook group the other day about how I once lost a hand which was I had a king high straight flush. I lost the hand to the royal flush because the board was I think I might have a photo of it actually, if you give me 2 secs. Let me just have a quick look. yeah, the board was king, queen, jack, 10 of diamonds. I had the nine of diamonds, and they yeah, they schooled me. See if I can find it. It's just a fun, like, how often do you see the board? And this. Oh, I did have this hand not too long ago. I played this hand on stream where I had lost quads against quads. That's quite a fun one. I hit my quad 7s on the river and they'd flop quad 9s. That hand sucked. Yeah, I remember that. 5-0. Got a couple of straight flush things here. Straight flush. Foil flush. No straight flush again. Nah. Nah, okay. I don't have a photo of it. Or if I've got a photo of it, it's elsewhere. But yeah. If you've ever lost a king high straight flush against the royal flush, you know my pain. So yeah, so to sum up this hand, basically, when someone bets the river on this board and you don't have the ace of diamonds, fold, because they've got it. That's that basically. That is that. Now this next hand, well, probably going to be the last hand that we'll review here. Now, as you can see, I win the hand. This is this big spike at the end here. I won a very nice pot in this hand. But I played it badly, I think. I think I played it badly, and I'll tell you why in a sec. So we get player opening here. I'll move these. Can I move those in the way? It doesn't matter. You've seen it now anyway. This is a perfect situation whereby if you weren't able to see the whole cards, this would make a very interesting topic to make you think about what hands these players could potentially have. But at the end of the day, this is the world we live in. So I come in for a big old 3-bet. I've got 2 opponents, and essentially I want to make sure that if at least one of them calls, then the other one's going to fold by making it such a big bet. I'm quite happy to take the pot down pre-flop. Jacks aren't the best hand in the world. I'm out of position. You know, I'd skip over the rake as well if I can get them to fold pre. So this is kind of a raise which is like, I'm serious about my hand. You should probably fold, but if you do come along, we're going to play a big pot. And they both decide to come along. And in all honesty, I don't think I can really fault either of their decisions here. I think the 8-7 suited is very much inclined to call here because they've got massive implied odds. When I come in for this raise size, I'm representing, you know, jacks through aces and ace king, maybe ace queen. But the 8-7 knows that a lot of the time they're going to hit a massive hand and stack me. Pocket sixes, I think, is fine. If this guy folds, I think the 6s should fold. But when this guy calls, I think the 6s, again, they've got massive implied odds against 2 opponents that have shown a decent amount of strength. And yeah, I think this call is fine. What I will say though is this person's range is a lot more difficult to pin down than this person. This person is very clearly on some sort of pocket pair. Not good enough to raise, so not like a 10s, but good enough to call twice with. So we're looking at 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, 5s, 4s, sometimes 3s and 2s. Okay, so they're quite easy to read. This guy, he could have anything at this point. He could have ace king, he could have ace queen, have queens, could even have aces or kings because some people like to get tricky with those. But mostly we're going to be looking at ace king, ace queen, queens, and then the occasional random like 8-7 suited, whatever. So the flop. Beautiful flop, isn't it? A beautiful, beautiful flop. We've got top set. Our friend by here has got Middleset, and our friend by here has got the open-ender. Now, bear in mind, my yeah, exactly as you said there, Jungle. I'm thinking the exact one here. So when this flop comes down, I'm thinking, okay, well this guy, a lot of the time, he's going to have, you know, 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, 5s, whatever like that. He's either going to have a middling pocket pair that's missed this board, or he's going to have flopped a set. If he's flopped a set, I don't need to do anything. The money's getting in. Like, he's going to come out betting. He's going to come out firing. We'll get the money in by the river. I'm not worried about this guy right now. Any action he takes, I am chilling. This guy, however. So you've got to remember what we're thinking pre-flop. What hands are mostly going to call a massive 3-bet size like that? Ace king, ace queen, pocket queens, whatever like that. So my thinking here is, okay, so say he's got ace king, ace queen. I need to let him catch up. If he's got pocket queens, I want him to think that I've got ace king and that I've missed the board. So I go for, and you may disagree with me here, but I go for a check. Because I'm thinking between one of these two guys, someone's going to put some money in. Either someone who's missed the board, who's getting screwy, or potentially if this geezer's hit a set, something like that. And we do get the action. We get the 19.5 bigs, about half pot, which is a decent size. I disagree with his decision to do this personally with the open ender. If I was him, I'd be checking it back, trying to hope that this guy also checks back and I get to see a free card on the turn to try and hit my straight against what is two ranges that should hit this board pretty well most of the time. But he comes out for the bet. And our player 4 here, who I can't remember his name, but I know he is a reg at 10NL fast forward on Party Poker. I do remember that it's one of the regs. So he comes in for the call as well. So when he calls, I am instantly thinking he's probably got a set of some sort. I'm pretty confident he's got a set, and I'm thinking he's got something like ace king, ace queen, or pocket queens that is now trying to. But probably, I think probably pocket queens was at the forefront of my mind. I was thinking pocket queens, maybe kings, and is now looking to get value from like a hand like ace jack or something like that. How wrong I am. Now, tell me, guys, what would you do in this situation? Would you, obviously we're not folding for obvious reasons. Would you flat? Would you raise? If you raise, how much do you raise? Are you just kind of min-clicking it back, or are you shipping it? What are you doing? And why as well? Bear in mind, I've already said that I think I make a mistake here. I wouldn't be so quick, Jungle, to say that he never has aces or kings. Like, never ever has aces or kings, because I've seen a lot of people just flat a large 3-bet with aces and kings. Don't get me wrong, they're not at the forefront of my mind at all. Like, in my mind, I'm saying, okay, maybe 5 or 10% of the time he's got aces and kings, and 90% of the time he's got something else. He's got queens, he's got ace king, he's got ace queen, something like that. I wouldn't never say never is what I'm kind of saying, because when you're playing at the micros, anything is fucking possible. You must heed those words and remember them. Anything is possible. Anyone can have any hand at any point. I had someone the other day call an all-in. Oh, what was it? I think he called an all-in on the turn with like queen high or king high and no draw. In fact, he did. I had pocket kings. He had king 8. I can't remember what the board was, but the board was something like Yeah, he had king 8, and the board was like queen 9 6 4 or something stupid like that. So people do crazy shit, man. So Mumble's shoving. Okay, that's fair. Jungle, any advances on Mumble? Or Orson, if you're still here? Or anyone else for that matter? Would anyone else agree with Mumble and shove? Call is really strong on calling. Okay. Or is it when Jungle, when you saying alright, call is really strong from the 6s, yeah. Yeah, when he calls, it's like he's absolutely smashed this flop. He's either got a set of 6s, a set of 5s, or maybe he's got the case jack and he's got like ace jack suited. Exactly, yeah. Okay, so I go with what Orson said, and I called. And I think I made a massive mistake by calling here. I really do. Purely because of his call. If he folds, then I love my call. But the fact that this guy calls, and he's like a decent reg as well, like I've played a bit against him. I know that, you know, I know that he's not calling with nothing here. He's not calling with fucking 9-7 off or something stupid like that. You know, this call is super strong, as Jungle says. Strong enough that I'm confident that he's getting it in. Like, he'd be getting it in now if he could. And because of that, I hate my call here. I think I've made a massive mistake, because all I'm doing is I'm inviting player 3 here to do this. And all of a sudden, literally my heart sank, and I thought to myself, ah, fuck, what if he's got 8-7? I hadn't even considered it. And this is the problem. Where exactly why I was saying to you, Jungle, a moment ago, when you say, oh, he never has aces, never has kings, never has 8-7, until the card comes on the board that makes you think back and go, actually, no, he could, couldn't he? He could have that. Which is why, you know, never rule it out, kind of thing. Now, I didn't on the flop. I didn't think, it was in the back of my mind. I won't lie to you and say that I didn't have any inkling at all that he could have 8-7, or that one of them could have 8-7. But I did. It was well back in the back of my mind. And then when the 9 hit on the turn, that's when it shot to the front of my mind, and I thought, ah, fuck. Ah, fuck. But I thought he can still have pocket queens, he can still have random ace king, ace queen, or something that's getting a little screwy. He could have ace king, ace queen of hearts, stuff like that. So on the turn we have to check. We know that the money's going in from one of these two guys. I'd say the reason why I called was kind of as you say, Jungle. When I just called, they're probably never putting me on jacks, and I want ace king, ace queen to catch up, basically. Right now, you know, on the flop, I've got the nuts, and I'm not really worried about any card apart from a 9 or maybe a 4. Those are the only 2 cards in the whole deck that I'm worried about, or maybe a queen as well, because I put him on something like pocket queens. But even then, like, none of these cards I'm ever folding, obviously on the turn. But yeah, I think where I went wrong is on this flop. After this call, after they both put it in, like this, the pot's already pretty big. There's 80 odd big blinds in there. 78 big blinds, but you know, it's a big pot already. And if they both fold, well, that sucks. But most of the time, at least one of these guys is going to have something to call with, especially after he calls. So yeah, I think that I should have shoved, and then essentially he would have to have called slightly more than the pot to stick around, and then he's got to call basically pot size to stick around. So yeah, so obviously we check it over. Obviously he's hit his straight, so he's now thinking, I want to keep people in, so I'm going to bet small. Player 4 here, probably thinking the exact same thing that's going through my head and thinking, oh fuck, left this too late. But obviously you need to shove now if you've got sixes, because you don't want you know, ace king of hearts, for argument's sake, to get a free card to try and hit the flush on the river or anything like that. So obviously he shoves it in, and then my thought here, I had the briefest moment where I thought maybe I should fold. I thought, man, I thought it would be fucking sod's law when you see this guy come in for another c-bet and this guy shove over the top. I thought, fucking one of them's gonna have 8-7, aren't they? Be sod's law, one of them's gonna have 8-7. But obviously, as we saw from the hand earlier, I'm a massive calling station. I do call it off. I don't need to raise here because we both already cover this guy. And then obviously he comes along. I see the bad news, and as I'm about to put my head into my hands, you see the most glorious river card in the world. And we get the 9 on the river. So yeah, so we win a 360 big blind pot, which is excellent. Nice, was it $23-ish pot? Paying 10 and L. Great, happy days, lovely stuff. But yeah, the big takeaway from this hand, despite the fact that it's the biggest hand of the day for me, despite the fact it sends me skyrocketing there, I mean, obviously you can see where my EV line lies. I should lose on average about $5 there. Instead of 123, so I'm, you know, I'm laughing. But yeah, this call on the flop. Now looking back at it, I fucking hate it. When you've got two players showing as much strength as they're showing here, get it in. Again, just don't fuck about. Don't give them the opportunity to hit the 9 or the 6 for that matter. You just get it in good. Get it in when you know you've got the nuts, and the players are showing strength. So yeah, so that is my takeaway from that whole sordid affair, is that we should have, yeah, should have been very very different. Oh, awesome! Might have just saved the day. Yeah, it's a bit late now, granted, but but it might help for next time. Where are we looking? Configuration. What is that? Replayer. Oh, you're a fucking legend, mate. As if I couldn't have found that myself. What a tit. I wonder what they've got, guys. What do you reckon? Yeah, let's call. We're having a good time. Nice. That'll work nice for next time. We'll do that. We'll do that definitely. Okay, yeah. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up there, guys. There was other hands that I was thinking of looking at as well. Hand like this, for example. I'll quickly skip through this one actually. Let's do this one just for fun. Got the pocket kings. We raise it up. We get 3-bet. We throw in the 4-bet. Stuck it in for about 2x. Can't remember why I did exactly 2x. I have no idea, but what we did. We get the call. So ranges that we're thinking, 4-bet calling ranges. I'm thinking ace king. Sometimes, well, aces quite a lot actually. Aces tend to call 4-bets quite a lot. So aces, kings, obviously, queens, ace king, maybe ace queen suited, right? So against that range, I'm thinking, okay, well, if I bet the flop, maybe he might even have jacks as well. But if I bet the flop, I'm getting value from pocket queens. That's it. I'm getting value from pocket queens. That's all I get value from. Aces are just going to fucking school me. Aces and jacks are both just going to check jam, which I don't want. Ace king is just going to fold. Which I also don't want. I want ace king to stick around and do something stupid, you know? So I check it back. Not always the best play in the world. I literally played a hand earlier today where I did this, and the turn hit came the ace, and then my opponent bet, and I was just like, brilliant. Just have to fold them, won't I? In a 4-bet pot. Turn comes the 8. Opponent bets out 1/3 pot. Very fucking easy call, obviously. He's going to do this with his pocket queens. He might do this with if he's got ace king of spades. He'd probably do this if he's got ace queen suited in some respect. Try and bluff me off ace king or whatever. Obviously he's doing it with aces. Obviously he's doing it with jacks as well. But we're never folding. Never folding, not when we've got 20% or whatever. River comes the 9. Now, never in a million years do I think he's got ace 9 here or ace 8 or 10-9 or something like that. Generally speaking, not a complete rule, but generally speaking, people aren't calling 4-bets, 3-bet calling 4-bet with those hands. I'm not worried about the 9. And he sticks in about slightly over half pot. And I'm like, what can he have? Could he have jacks? Could he have aces? Yeah. Could he have pocket queens? Probably. Could he have ace king and ace queen and be bluffing? Absolutely. And in the end, I settle on the idea that he's either bluffing me with ace king or ace queen, or he's just got me beat. That's pretty much it. I feel like pocket queens a lot of the time would check this river. Obviously, pocket queens really at this stage only beats ace king or ace queen, which are just going to fold. You're not getting value from unless you check it over to them, give them the opportunity to bluff you. So I'm thinking, okay, this is either a value bet with aces or jacks, or got some sort of bluff. What do we think? What do we think he's got? Spoiler alert, obviously I call. Could also have kings. The rogue thought, awesome, yeah. Could have kings. He could have kings here and try and get value from pocket queens, absolutely. But he doesn't. You know what he's got? I'll fucking tell you what he's got. Ace jack. Easy game. That's it. He's just got ace jack. 3-bet, call the 4-bet out of position with ace jack suited. What are you going to do? You're going to tell him he's wrong? I'm not. I'm going to tell him shit. For anyone who's interested, I do not recommend calling a 4-bet with ace jack suited out of position. In position, maybe. Maybe. If you've got a read on an opponent. If you've got a read on an opponent and you're in position against them, maybe call your ace jack suited. But if you are out of position and the pre-flop raiser comes in for a 4-bet over the top, maybe not. Yeah, just so you know, like, show you, he bet the river. So what, like, here's a question as well from his point of view with ace jack. With ace jack here, what the fuck does he think that he's going to get called by that he beats? Am I ever realistically 4-betting pocket tens and then calling on this river? Not really. No, I never call there with ace jack suited mumble. I'd never call ace jack suited out of position to a 4-bet. Like I said, I would maybe call a 4-bet with ace jack suited if I've got position on players that I've got very, very strong reads on that I know are playing extremely loose. But this is the thing, what is he getting value from on my 4-betting range with this river bet? He's not getting value from anything at all. And if he's going to bluff, well, maybe he should have bet bigger. If he had me on 10-10, then he would be massively mistaken because I'm never 4-betting 10-10 in position. I might 4-bet 10-10 out of position as some sort of pseudo weird bluff, but almost never. Yeah, I would 4-bet pocket tens if I was in the small blind against the big blind and I've raised him and he's 3-bet me from the big blind and I'm in the small blind and I 4-bet him to try and get him off, you know, ace jack. Ace jack, exactly, or something like that. Like that's the only reason that I would ever really 4-bet pocket tens. Otherwise, I'm just flatting. I'm just calling 3-bet with pocket tens. So if he has put me on pocket tens, then he's assuming that my 4-bet range is a lot wider than it actually is, which in this case has paid off well for me. Yes, top, the man's practically the nuts. I know, right? Doesn't matter what I've got, he's got top. Why wouldn't he bet? Doesn't matter what I did pre-flop, he's got top now. What I did pre-flop is gone and forgotten. It's irrelevant. All about what hand he has. Nothing about, no, it doesn't matter what I've got. It's all about the hand that he has, and he's got top and he's going to bet it and he will not be pushed around. Feels like a big man ready to take on the world. That's my, in case any of you are wondering what that is, I'm doing a very poor impression of John Malkovich's very poor impression of a Russian accent from Rounders, which I watched 2 days ago. But I'd not watched it in ages, and I was just like, you know, I fucking want to watch Rounders because it's just a fun film. It's like the best poker film that there is, even though some of the gameplay is questionable if you actually look into what they actually do. Like the bet sizes and shit are just weird. Look at Doug Polk's video on Facebook, oh sorry, on YouTube, where he goes through the hands between Teddy KGB and Mike McDermott, and they're just funny. Like the actual bet sizes and shit they use, it just makes no sense. Yes, jungle, it went check on the flop. Bet call, back up the truck, give me the money. Which ultimately I tanked today because I'm a huge fish, and the very last thing of today now. I'm going to show you this, right? More for your amusement than anything else. I was trying to be weird with this. I was trying to do some sort of, I've run out of both of my drinks. I was trying to do some sort of meta game. I don't know what the fuck I was trying to do with this hand. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking with this hand really. There's a straightforward way of playing, and I did not take a straightforward line with this at all. Just fucking buckle up, guys. Buckle up, buckaroos. So, I call my ace-8 suited in the small blind. I think that's pretty standard. It's maybe a little bit loose. I think calling or folding is fine. Never 3-betting it though, because you just too often. So, we flop the top. We got the top now. Who's got the top? We got the top. So what do I do? Well, what would you do? You would check over to the razor, wouldn't you? Nah, not this wildcat. Bet 1/3 pot. Yeah. That's right. Why did I bet 1/3 pot? I don't know. Why does anyone do anything? Shut up. I bet my top. And I'm kind of thinking, in all honesty, like at this stage, right now, I'm thinking a little bit, oh, maybe I can get some very cheeky value from like an ace king or an ace queen or something like that. Or cheeky value from pocket sevens. But mainly I'm thinking like ace king, ace queen, ace jack are going to float on this board a lot. But I'll go for some cheeky value. And he calls, yeah, it got my value. The turn is a 5. I'm thinking, do I want a double barrel with my top? No, I don't want a double barrel with my top. I want him to think he's got a fighting chance now. And he falls for it. He falls for it, guys. He falls for it. Do you know what he falls for? Check. He falls for the check. He thinks I've got sod all now. He's coming, he's bluffing at me with his ace king, his ace queen, his ace jack. So I'm like, yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead, man. I'm just going to call you. River's a 4. I'm thinking, man, my range is smashing it. My range is absolutely smashing it. I am a little worried now, though. He did raise in early position. He did call my bet on the flop. He did bet the turn. I'm thinking, well, maybe he doesn't have ace king. Maybe he doesn't have ace queen. Maybe he's got pocket 10s, pocket jacks. The overpair, something like that, you know? My overpair would play this way quite a lot of the time. Pocket jacks, pocket 10s, pocket 8s. Not pocket 8s, sorry, pocket queens. They would all play their hands in a similar vein to this, wouldn't they? I'm thinking maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe I've got it all wrong. Maybe he doesn't have ace king, ace queen. Maybe he's got 10s or jacks or queens or something. In which case my top is no good anymore. But you never give up on the top. You never give up on top. So what do? You overbet. Just take it in. Just take it in, guys. I'd just like to point out that when I played this hand, it was shortly before starting this session, and I was at the end of an 8-hour shift in work. When I had my day yesterday, when I won 40, well, I won 4 buy-ins in 40 minutes, I thought to myself, yeah, you know, I'm locked in. First thing in the morning, I had a shower, feeling good, you know, locked in, bam, 4 buy-ins in 40 minutes, job done, happy days. 66 big blinds over 100. So then I'm thinking, right. So here, all I was thinking was, well, I've got the 8, I've got the ace. I could have ace-7, could have 8-7. I could have 6-8, could have ace-6, could have 6-7, could have 6-5. All of these hands are in my range when I call pre-flop in the small blind. And so I just spunk it in there, you know. That's what, about how much more have I bet than the pot there? Well, I bet about 155-ish% of the pot there. I'm thinking there's no way he's calling. Not calling. Of course he's not calling. He doesn't have anything. Of course he's not calling. Get aces. That's how you get a graph like this. That's that hand there. That's that one. Now you have a graph like this and not a graph like this, or this, or this, or this, this. I quite like this one actually. Now what you do is you just spunk it in on the river and you get called by aces. That's what you do. That's how you get a nice little downward trend like that. So long story short is, if you're going to try something, don't. And that's my sign off message for you today. So thanks for coming out, guys. I think we've had some fun here. We've learned some stuff and we've had some fun. I'll do this again at some point. Here's my face. I'll do this again at some point. I stream, generally speaking, every Sunday and Thursday. So usually on Thursday I'll do this kind of thing, and on a Sunday I'll play. And sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, sometimes you get to see me do crazy shit like that. So it's always good fun. So anyway, many thanks guys, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.